Welcome! In this video, you will learn about one of the most common tools in e-learning and instructional design, rapid e-learning, otherwise known as ReL. By the end of this video, you'll be able to define ReL and determine when ReL is appropriate. Hey there, I'm Madeline, an instructional designer. I have worked on projects in the military, corporate, and education sectors. In most of my positions, we had a steady workflow, a strategic training program, and all the resources we needed to create great e-learning. In almost every work environment, I also experienced many situations where there was an immediate need. IT updated its single sign-on procedure, a state law was passed that affected our workplace, or there was new safety precautions in response to an injury. When there was an immediate need, we didn't have time to go through the traditional e-learning development process. Instead, we had to develop our e-learning within weeks or even days instead of months. When these situations arose, we depended on rapid e-learning development. So what is rapid e-learning development, or ReL? ReL is a specific process used to create e-learning products for which you already have existing written content that just needs to be massaged for quick mass distribution. I'm going to tell you a quick story about how I used ReL to address an immediate need. So I was an ID at a corporate job, and IT had just updated the company's login procedures, which required every employee to install a verification tool on their cell phones. And I was asked to create a short e-learning lesson on the new login process as soon as possible. Now, I could have gone through the lengthy process of traditional e-learning development where I analyze and design, conduct needs analysis, etc. However, since there was an immediate need and logging into the company's portal is an essential task for every single employee, I developed using ReL. Another reason I used ReL was because the content, in this case the new login process information, was a simple static procedure. I didn't need to interview an SME or probe for more information. Essentially, I knew exactly what I needed the learner to know. Since there was no need to analyze, I jumped right into ReL development using storyline templates and modifying existing scripts to make sure I was more engaging and interactive than a text-based memo. I also included quizzes and feedback to ensure there was basic comprehension. In summary, when choosing ReL over traditional e-learning development, you must have the following. 1. An immediate need. 2. Content that is a simple static procedure. 3. More interaction and engagement than a text-based memo. And 4. It's always good to have feedback to ensure basic comprehension. It's important to keep in mind, too, that ReL works best in situations where the learner needs access to simple information, such as an introduction to a new concept, a procedure, or practice making decisions in the workplace. Now let's talk a little bit about what the ReL team actually looks like. In traditional e-learning development, a team consists of IDs, managers, graphic designers, and SMEs. In rapid e-learning development, your team is usually smaller. Typically, rapid e-learning development is developed by an ID without the help of an SME. Other times, when an SME is involved, they are actually the one developing the ReL, and then the ID acts as a senior instructional designer. While it might seem odd to have an SME developing the ReL, remember that the content and templates are already available, and all the SME needs to do is arrange the information in the template. ReL can be a cost-efficient way to get informational content to users. Because ReL uses templates and simple authoring tools, it can be developed internally with point-and-click software rather than hiring an external company or contractor to create a product requiring experienced computer software or web developers. In traditional e-learning development and ReL development, many of the tools are the same. Both can use Articulate Storyline, Adobe Captivate, Camtasia, recording software, and templates. Even the delivery methods can be similar. Traditional and ReL can also be synchronous or asynchronous, self-paced, or live. The difference is the rapid e-learning development. In traditional e-learning, the long development process means that the final product usually looks more professional and has a lot of interactivity, such as branching scenarios. In ReL, the limited time frame and budget means that the final product can look less polished than a traditional e-learning object. There may be a quiz or a test, but interactivity and evaluation is usually limited. Despite these differences, rapid e-learning development is usually created to be used in combination with other instructional or non-instructional interventions to meet immediate or unexpected needs. That means that while ReL is developed to meet immediate needs, it can also work to support traditional e-learning programs. In some organizations, rapid e-learning development is part of a strategic learning plan in anticipation of quickly changing training needs. As an ID or learning professional, you will need to be able to determine when a situation calls for rapid e-learning, traditional e-learning development, or a combination of the two. As I mentioned earlier, ReL development should be used when there is an immediate need for information, the content is a simple static procedure, your learners need more engagement and interaction than a text-based email memo, and you are able to provide feedback to ensure basic comprehension. ReL development is also appropriate when the learning outcomes are more simplistic, such as learning new vocabulary, a process, or some basic decision making. Instructional products that are associated with more complicated learning or performance outcomes are more appropriate for synchronous instructor-led training or traditional e-learning, and they often require more time to design and develop. When considering ReL, you must also consider your audience. ReL is best suited for situations in which your target audience may not be motivated to read a standard printed text memo version or would benefit from a more visual, interactive format with knowledge check questions to facilitate comprehension. Your audience may also be mobile device dependent. The target audience is either very large, experiences high turnover, or is widely distributed across geographic locations. The information embedded in this type of e-learning product is updated often and quickly becomes outdated, and your budget for this type of product is generally smaller than other types of e-learning products. If you want your learners to achieve more complex outcomes, you may need to go with the traditional e-learning approach and/or a hybrid program design involving both instructor-led synchronous learning environments and self-paced asynchronous environments. Getting your learners to demonstrate more complicated, nuanced, or complex learning outcomes can often require detailed analysis and design from experienced e-learning professionals. ReL implies that content is already available. Lack of available content means the content will need to be created, which not only takes time, but also requires the author to possess the skills and knowledge to develop this content.